Welcome to OpenAirInterface tutorials. This is the second part of the Magma software. In the previous video we saw the Magma installation, and in this one we are going to see the configuration of the orchestration through the NMS to work together with OpenAirInterface. Before I start, we need to remember the deployment scenario. So in this case we are using two computers connected to the switch and it on a router. The inode is connected through the USB 3.0 to the USRP. Then the antenna of the USRP transmits signals over the air to the COTS UE. After rebooting the operating system, we need to restart all Docker containers for the Orchestrator and the NMS. We need some seconds to achieve this task. So now let's go to the configuration of the orchestrator using any browser. In this case, we are using Chrome, and the link is https://magma-test. Previously, we have configured the access gateway, and as you can see, the health is good. To be sure the access gateway is connected to the orchestrator, we need to see all the Magma services. I am scrolling down the information of all Magma services intentionally for you in order to be used for your own implementation. Now we need to be focused on the control proxy service that will indicate an successfully or an unsuccessfully connection between the access gateway and the orchestrator. For the first one, we have a 200 state, and for the second one, we have 502 states. The control proxy services of Magma in our implementation tell us that we have a successfully connection, so everything is okay now. Let's go to the Magma test or NMS to configure the access gateway or to create a new one. When we hit the button to create or add a new gateway, we need some information. The first one is the gateway name, the gateway ID, the hardware UE ID, the gateway description, and the challenge key. So the question here is, where can I find the hardware UUID and the challenge key? So for this, we go to the terminal and use the script called show gateway info. We have a small problem here, and is that we have already installed the same gateway using the same hardware UUID and challenge key. So when you are installing this access gateway, you are not going to see this error because it's your first time. In my case, I am not going to create a new access gateway because it is already created. Instead of that, I am going to show you the configuration. Then for the aggregation tab, we going to select everything, as you can see here. Then we hit the EPC tab. So we select the NAT, then the IP block should be the network of the ETH1. The SGI network gateway should be the gateway of the ETH0, and the SG1 management interface should be the IP assigned to the interface ETH0. So after executing the command route-end, we didn't see into the IP routing table the entry for the gateway of the ETH0. So to obtain that gateway, we use the IF down and then the IF up for the interface ETH0. Now let's check the SGI management interface IP. Looking for the network settings, we need to put the MCC to 208, the MNC to 93, and the DAC to 600. Additionally, we need to configure some users. Finally, we configure the APN string. Remember here, the APN should be configured here and at the smartphone. The same values for each user should be configured here and into the SIM card in order to the codes you be able to connect and attach to the core network. In order to configure a new user, we need to follow the next steps. Let's configure the RAM part of the network. So here we select FDD. These values are for a band 7 and 5 MHz of bandwidth. Probably if you set those values of the RAM network, they are not gonna work. So if you want to know how to extend this for band 7, please leave some comments. Everything is configured correctly and we are waiting the eNodeB and the UE to be connected to the core network or the access gateway. Before of that, let's check all the network interfaces using the ifconfig command. The last network interfaces that start with bet corresponds to networks of some Docker containers. Let's see all the Docker containers using the ps-a command. We change some ports at the host for containers such as Grafana, Magma LT, and FluentD. So the second question here is where can I modify those ports? So if you remember in the first video, when we install the NMS and the orchestrator, we can use the Docker Compose file to do those modifications. We arrived to the last part of the configuration of the orchestration. So here we are going to see the logs of the MME to see what happened when the inodb or the COTS UE is trying to connect to the core network. If we see the mme.log file, we can see at the beginning the configuration of the MME and the SP gateway. Then at the end, we observe the activity of the MME when the COTS UE and the inodb is trying to connect the core network, in this case the EPC. If we want to see the activity of the MME log continuously, we use the watch command and also the tail command with n that correspond to the number of lines at the end of this file. Please don't forget to check the connectivity between the access gateway and the eNodeB using the ping command. Now let's see in another computer what happened with the eNodeB and the UE. The first one is using the software, the OpenAirInterface, and the last one is a smartphone. The first thing we need to do is to look for the folder where we find the LTE soft modem into the OpenAirInterface 3. For mirroring the screen of the smartphone, I am using the Visor app. So we can see what is happened on the UE. After activating the cellular network of the smartphone, I can see that it is connected to the OpenAirInterface network. So this means that the UE, the COTS UE, is connected to the access gateway. And the access gateway is managed by Magma. Now I will launch YouTube to see if there is a connectivity to internet. Even though the access gateway assigned an IP to the COTS UE, I have no connectivity to the internet. So I am still facing this problem, and I looking for answers for the YouTube, the OpenAirInterface, and the Magma communities to solve this problem. So the last question here is how can I see the MME activity of the access gateway when the COTS UE and the eNodeB is trying to connect it? So the last question here is how can I see the MME activity of the access gateway when the COTS UE and the eNodeB is trying to connect it? After some tries, we can see a successfully attached UI. That's all for these tutorials. So, if you are new in this channel, please don't forget to subscribe the channel. Then hit the bell and enable notifications for future videos. Additionally, if you have questions, please put them down below this video.